Welcome to Agri Business Weekly with John Jenkinson. And now, here is your host, John Jenkinson.
Here on today's program, we're being joined by the chairman of the Kansas Soybean Commission. Kurt Maurath is our guest, and he's a farmer in is Oakley still considered Northwest Kansas?
Yes, it is.
Right there along I-70. How do things look this year, by the way?
It looks really good. We've had decent rains, and the wheat is just really taking off, and everything's greening up. The pastures are greening up, and everybody's getting real excited about planting some corn and some soybeans in the area.
Well, we're going to have to get that done here pretty soon, Kurt. So let's talk about some of the other challenges that face soybean producers right now. So far, we need to kind of expand these markets just a little bit. You know, it wasn't that long ago we took the futures market and put a 7 in front of this soybean price. That's getting a little too close for comfort. So I know that you folks work really, really hard all the time, not just now, but all the time at trying to expand these markets and get us into other places.
Yes, we sure do. And just recently this winter, we took a trip to Vietnam and to try to work on our markets there. You know, Vietnam's a very interesting country. It's basically the same size as Kansas, but where we have just 3 million people, Vietnam has 96 million people. So they're a hungry country, and they're growing and in wealth, and we really see it as a good fit for our Kansas soybeans to make it over there to both feed their livestock and their people, and you know, and increase their protein intake that they have. So we're really excited about working with our partners like U.S. beef and U.S. chicken, and just expand our exports over to Vietnam.
When you were there, that was before the African swine fever issue, but you know, 75% of those folks eat pork, so they really rely on pork.
Yes, they rely on a lot. So, and pork is a good consumer of soybeans. So that's what we're excited about. We toured a load-out facility there, and one thing I know we need to work on this 2% foreign matter that our country allows in our exports is it really needs to change. We're really hurting ourselves by not being more competitive with cleaner grains when they come off those barges. But what we were excited about was they had #1 beans in cargo containers showing up there at local feed mills that came from Kansas City, and it was just wonderful beans, and they just can't say enough about how great those beans are. And they're rebagging those for human consumption, and then they're rebagging it and shipping them off to the chicken feed mills and the hog feed mills. So they really like our #1 beans over there.
You walked right into my next question, then. It was to what they think of the United States producer. This foreign matter thing, how do we get around that?
How do we get around it? What?
The foreign matter in some of those complaints that you're working on.
Well, we need to work with our exporters, the big corporations, and just show them how they're hurting our, you know, it's real easy to see their reason behind what they do because it makes them money to have a little bit of extra trash in there or something. But in the long run, it doesn't, because they're wanting to buy beans from Brazil because they're cleaner coming out of beans in the big cargo ships. So if we can get them to clean up, maybe we need to change our laws and get down to 1% foreign matter, which is what #1 beans are, and they would sell a lot more beans. They'd have a lot more happy people that way. And so probably in the long run, they'd sell more beans overall.
So our biggest competitor, of course, is south of the equator. Then are they able to ship them all that they need and provide for them completely?
I don't think so. I don't know exact numbers, but they definitely had U.S. beans there the day we were there. So they're getting them from us. And it, you know, of course, it all depends on the market, who's got the cheapest best bean at the time there. But we always compete really well when they want the protein, and that's the small feed mills that we saw were also making full fat feed for their pigs, meaning crushing the whole bean, leaving the oil in it, so they're a 45-48% protein feed supplement for those pigs, and that's what they really like.
Well, they've got 30 million head of pigs a year to feed, so they got a big appetite for them. What about transportation? Are we competitive at all in that realm?
I think they are. They're really building up and getting a lot of new infrastructure going. Their ports were, massive, allowing the big cargo containers to come in and cargo bulk ships and unloading them just as fast as anybody does, I think. So they're really getting very modernized and ready for taking our shipments in.
Okay, all right. I tell you what, we're going to take a real quick break, Kurt. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation, talk more about some of the other markets that you folks are working on. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment here on KSN's Agri Business Weekly. And welcome back to the program. We continue our conversation now with Kurt Maurath. He is a producer from Oakley, Kansas, and soybean producer. He also serves as the board chairman of the Kansas Soybean Commission. So it's probably not just Vietnam that you folks are focused on. I'd say it's probably a lot of different markets all over the globe. Yes,
there sure is. On the trip we went to Vietnam, we also went to Tokyo and checked in on our markets there. They're consuming a lot of turkeys and chickens and pigs there, and using soybeans in their soy sauces, and so that's an older market that we've had a presence in a long time, but we continue to work with them, trying to expand and educate the value of our beans. I'm also through the United Soybean Board. We work with a committee called the WISH Committee, which is World Initiative for Soy and Human Health, and we've opened up new markets in Africa, and those are usually real small markets. But once we educate the people and show them what the value of that protein is in their feed source or in their human food, it really starts people wanting our U.S. beans, and that's what WISH is all about. And once the market gets going, and then then the USEC, United Soybean Export Council, will take over and really work with them to get the bigger volumes of soybeans shipped to those countries. We recently, our WISH committee just had a $17 million grant from the USDA to start in one of these new markets in Cambodia. So we're really excited about that because there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that part of the world.
Kurt, you make a good point, and that's the fact that a lot of these countries that you've listed here today used to be third world type countries that had a lot of issues of their own. They were war torn. They had a lot of problems. But it sounds like a lot of them could become big United States soybean customers. They just need to hear the message. Am I reading that right?
Yes, that's correct. And that's why Kansas alone, we can't reach these markets, but that's why we partner with the U.S. Soybean Board and these other organizations. That's how we use our Kansas checkoff monies, and we can just triple it or quadruple the effect of it by partnering with these national organizations, and then going to these little countries, and plus you've got a wealth of knowledge in the staffs of these programs, so they know what it takes to get into a new country and what kind of bureaucracy they have to get through, and that really helps us get more bang for a buck from our Kansas soybean checkoffs.
Final question then, Kurt. A lot of people say, well, gosh, why don't you save the money and just stay here and give them a phone call? How important is it that you have these face-to-face meetings and actually see what the market is and try to cater to that consumer?
Well, it's really no different than, when I go to buy a tractor, I don't do it over the line. I want to go talk to that salesman directly. And that's what these other countries want to see. They want to see the face of a producer. And that's why we make some of these trips, is to put a face that they can recognize. They can see that we're human just like they are. And they can ask us questions about how we grow our beans. It's probably 10 years ago we went to China, and China wanted to know what our best dollar was for growing beans, the cheapest we could sell them, we had to educate them on, well, there's a world market out there, and they have to compete.
Yep.
And we have to be able to make a profit on our end as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Kurt, thank you very much. Always appreciate it. Good to visit with you. Hope that you have a great season. Kurt Maurath here. He is the chairman of the Kansas Soybean Commission, and we've got more of the program coming up in just a moment. You need to be sure and stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.